Hi everybody, I hope you're feeling good today and that this video finds you all well and happy, at least in these very difficult times. So I'm here today to give a bit of tips and advice to my students as a free gift for Christmas. So I hope that you find my tips useful and you can pass them on to other people. We're going to look at some information that will help you with your IELTS preparation. So let me just share the screen here with you today. So first of all, we're going to look at the IELTS band description. This is the marking sheet for marking students. So first of all, we're going to look at the band description at band 5, and we're going to talk about discourse markers, which we use for speaking and writing, but specifically in the part 2 question, we use these. Okay, so at band 5, the student may overuse certain connectives and discourse markers. Overuse means to use the same few. So if you have a limited vocabulary, you may just use and, also, or so. A lot of students at band 5 use just those basic discourse markers. And then if we go to band 6, you'll see that the student uses a range of connectives and discourse markers, but not always appropriately. That means sometimes they might use the wrong discourse markers in the wrong place. Then when we go to band 7, the student uses a range of connectives and discourse markers with some flexibility. That means that you are able to demonstrate a wide range of discourse markers, and you can use them to connect complex sentences together as well as to conclude with. This is what the examiners are looking for, especially in the part 2 question and the part 3 question. So what we're going to do right now is just take a look at some discourse markers in the chart, and this is a blueprint that you can use to answer your part 2 questions. So you want to have an introduction, something like there are many parks that I could go to, but if I'm going to talk about one, I'd like to go to and then begin. Or I want to talk about, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to describe. Then the reason why you need to use the introduction like this and paraphrase the question, repeat some of the question, is to show the examiner that you do understand the question and you're answering the right question. Okay, so it's important to paraphrase the question in the beginning of your answer. Then we can start to use the discourse markers. So use firstly after your introduction. Then you would add information next to firstly, like the first thing you want to say about this park, this place, an object, maybe a book or a device that's important to you, or an experience that you had. You want to share your first thing that you want to say about that. And then after your first sentence, you use the discourse marker secondly, and you provide your second sentence with information and examples. Then perhaps you would use moreover, if you can remember, and add more information. Try using furthermore, again, adding more information, and then don't forget to conclude with finally, or all in all, or overall, again, to add a concluding discourse marker. Try and avoid saying the end, or that's it, or I finished, because that shows them that you don't know how to use a concluding discourse marker skillfully. You want to try and show them that you know how to use a concluding discourse marker skillfully, so therefore you don't need to say the end, that's it, or I finished, because the concluding discourse marker does that job for you before you finalize your last sentence. So you want to say, finally, this is the reason why I like to go to this park so much, or this is the reason why this laptop is important to me, or this is the reason why I remember this special day. So if we have a look at this chart about discourse markers, we can go through which ones are most essential for IELTS Part 2 and Part 3, as well as also for your writing. So everything I'm saying to you today applies to your writing as well as your speaking. So in the Part 2 speaking question, you're going to be using the first box here and the second box here. So you'll see firstly, secondly, and then you can use moreover, furthermore, and don't use too many alsos or ands. Then you will conclude with overall, finally, or to sum up. Okay. Don't conclude with in summary or in conclusion. That is just for writing only. Okay, so when you write your essays, you'll say in summary or in conclusion. It's more formal than speaking. In speaking, you just use overall, to sum up, finally. Okay. So not many people know about this, but the Part 3 questions are also designed to test your knowledge of discourse markers, specifically discourse markers to show similarities and to contrast. Okay, so to show similarities, you're going to be using likewise or similarly, equally, in the same way. And to contrast, you'll be using on the one hand, give your reason and your example, whereas or however on the other hand, and give your contrasting reason and example. These are essential discourse markers for the Part 3 question. Okay, so there you have it. Part 2, your information discourse markers to add information to sequence events, and Part 3 to show similarities and to contrast. And then obviously in the Part 2, don't forget to finish up with overall, finally, to sum up, or all in all. So let's look at some examples on how this works. So here we have a question about an object that is important to you. So the student says, I'm going to talk about my earphones that I'm using right now. Firstly, discourse marker, these were a gift. They are my Apple earphones. And secondly, they are very useful as my work involves a lot of conference calls. That's why they are important to me. Moreover, I need to talk to people and understand their problems and to get it resolved. Furthermore, they were a gift from my friends when I left my previous organization. The gift was of sentimental value. They mean a lot because these people were not only my colleagues, but also my friends as I started my career with them. Finally, they are the best earphones I have used and they are very precious to me. So you've got some other words there as well as the discourse markers. Sentimental value means something that you're attached to because it has an emotional memory or emotional meaning behind it. So again, you see he's used firstly, secondly, moreover, furthermore, and finally. Now, why do we have to use finally? Why can't we just say the end, that's all, that's it? Don't do that. Avoid saying the end or that's all or that's it. We need to show the examiner we can use concluding discourse markers. So try and use finally or overall or all in all or to sum up, because this shows the examiners you can skillfully conclude with discourse markers as well as use them to structure your complex sentences together. So you can skillfully conclude with them and you know the concluding discourse markers. You don't need to say the end afterwards or that's it or I finish, because the concluding discourse marker has that function for you. So you just say to sum up or overall, they're the best earphones I've ever had and they're precious to me. Okay, so let's have a look at another one. You describe a person who is often in the news that you would like to meet. I want to talk about a dietitian who is very famous in India and all over the world. Firstly, she is often in the news. She gave me some dietary advice to a famous actress. She gave some dietary advice to a famous actress. Her name is, she is often in the news sharing her expert advice on nutrition. Secondly, she advises us to eat traditional food diets, and interestingly, she educates us to follow what our ancestors' nutrition was, as they used to make their food in iron pans rather than non-stick pans, which do not keep the same nutritional value as iron pans can when cooking your food. Moreover, it's okay to have traditional sweets as long as it's in a limited quantity. Anything that is in excess is bad for your health. Furthermore, she also recommends strength training, again referring to the ancestors who would do a lot of physical work like collecting water out of the well for strength, and yoga. She has a lot of knowledge. I used to follow her advice and I have benefited for sure by following her recommendations. For example, compared to low calorie and low carbs, her recommended diets are more suitable for me. Finally, if I got the opportunity to meet her, I would ask her advice on a customized nutrition plan. It would be more than enough for me. So there might be some other words here that you're not familiar with, which I'll go through in a moment. But as you can see, she's used firstly, secondly, moreover, furthermore, and finally in her answer. So let's have a look. We've got ancestors. Ancestors means the generations of people before you, several generations ago. And then we have nutrition. Nutrition means like what food that you take in that is nutritious, that is good for you. Then we have recommendations. What that means is advice, you know, like I'm giving you now. I'm giving you recommendations. Okay, so let's go to the last one. And the last one we're going to do today is a Christmas IELTS question and answer. Describe a memorable letter. I'd like to talk about a letter from a very special and well-known person when I was a child. In kindergarten, my parents told me about Santa Claus. Some say he is a person from Europe, and he either lived in Lapland, Finland, or Iceland. Others say he is from the North Pole. He can fly with the help of his magic sleigh and 8 reindeer. Moreover, one famous reindeer is called Rudolph, who has a red nose. Santa and his reindeer visit well-behaved children on Christmas Eve night. He has to go down a chimney or find a way into the house to bring them presents to put under the Christmas tree before Christmas Day. In the Christmas holiday, I wrote a letter to Santa and I waited for Christmas to come. Firstly, when Christmas Day had arrived, I was surprised that Santa had replied to my letter. I opened the letter immediately. Santa said that in the letter he would come to Hong Kong and visit me the next year. Moreover, I cried and I really hoped he would visit me in the next year. Finally, this was the most memorable letter. It taught me everyone had a wish that would come true. Now, of course, I know that it was a letter written by my father to make me happy when I was a child. So that's another one that's used discourse markers. Although I might rearrange the discourse markers somewhat, I would put firstly probably up by after Santa Claus. firstly, some say he is a person from Europe, either Lapland, Finland, or Iceland. Others say he's from the North Pole. Then I would put, secondly, he can fly with the help of his magic sleigh and 8 reindeer. Moreover is fine there, but I would put firstly up at the top towards the beginning of the introduction. So firstly, some say he is a person from Europe, and then secondly, he can fly with the help of his magic sleigh and 8 reindeer. So otherwise, it's a good and fun question and answer. So I hope you enjoyed today's tips and advice. Wishing you all a happy Christmas or St. Nicholas, and I hope that you get to spend some time with your friends or family. If not, try and get to speak to someone online and just stay connected. And my thoughts are with you because I know how difficult it is this year for many, many people. Okay. Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.